This story is one of the scarier ones that I have ever gotten because it has to do with the skinwalker actually hurting somebody. I've never heard of that before. So use your headphones and say a prayer because we're about to go on a wild ride. Before I get started, I just want to say don't forget to subscribe to my YT channel. The link is in my bio. I post different scary stories over there than I do on here and the same ones. Also, if you want to tell me your true scary story, my email is in my bio. It's kaisespooky@gmail.com. So here we go. So this story was sent to me by a girl named Samantha, and when Samantha was 16 or 17 years old, she was hanging out in the woods in Colorado with her friends. The area was really cute with a lot of houses around it, but they wanted to go in a more desolate area, so they started kind of roaming around the woods. They go on this curvy driveway that they think is going to take them to a house, but it doesn't take them to a house. It takes them to this little fire pit area where people are kind of like camping. Now, meanwhile, they're in their car right now driving around. They're not walking around, they're driving. So they stop their car in this area because they see that there's a bunch of trees that are dead, but there's some trees that are alive, and this is weird to them. So they pull over and they stop and they see a tree that looks like it's been struck by lightning. So they go to this tree, and one interesting thing about this tree is that it's surrounded by bones, and they think that it's animal bones, but she said that some of them didn't look like animal bones. They looked like other bones. But they try not to think about this because this could just be animal bones. So they go over there, they're laughing, they're talking, they're taking pictures, and then they stop and they start telling each other scary stories. And then Samantha brings up the fact that she can actually talk to the dead, that she's a sensitive, and all of her friends are like, you're lying, no you're not, you can't talk to the dead, that's insane. And Samantha is like, yes I can, and just to let you know, there is something out here, I can feel it. Like, I have always felt it every single time we come out here, there's something out here. They decide to go to another campsite, and they actually end up running into some friends that have a camper there. So they're like, oh great, this is so fun, we can all hang out together. So they all start hanging out and they're just chilling, when all of a sudden they hear this screeching sound and then this whistling. So they're all looking at each other and they're like, what the hell was that? But one of the friends that was in the camper that they had run into said that they had been hearing this noise all day long. They had just been hearing whistling and screeching, like a piercing screeching sound all day long. And they start getting in the topic of SWs. They're getting in deep conversation about SWs. They're talking about how they can harm you, how you can call upon them, all of that stuff. When all of her friends that she came with just started to get super freaked out, and they were all like, listen, we want to go home. But Samantha didn't want to go home. She wanted to stay and investigate. And she said that this was the worst decision she could have made. But she does. She stays in and she investigates with her friends. So Samantha stays with her friends that live in the camper, and they're just hanging out and they're chit-chatting and they're talking about this SW topic. Now they're in the camper at this point and they're just talking, when all of a sudden they hear this tap, 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 tap on the camper. So they're all sitting there looking at each other like, what the hell is that? When then it turns into banging. Bang, 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 bang on the door. Then screeching again, that whistling. Now this is all happening at once and it's incredibly chaotic, and they start freaking out. Every single one of them are the most terrified they have ever been in their lives. But one of them, I guess a super brave one, decides that he's gonna take a pew pew and he's gonna go outside and check it out. Why, I do not know. But as soon as they get out there, everything stops. They don't see anything. And they decide to fire a shot into the woods. Still, nothing. Silence. They don't hear anything. After all that chaos, they hear nothing. Then the woods get really quiet, and I mean really quiet. It's now dead silent, and they're all out there standing there looking at each other when one of her friends goes, ow! And something is wrong with her back. She's like, my back, my back, my back. And so they turn, they lift up her shirt, they look at her back, and she has a huge claw mark down her back. Like, this is deep. So they take her inside the camper, they shut the door, and they're checking out her back. So they are inside trying to take care of her friend's back because they need to bandage it up. When they decide that they're gonna go back out there to see if there's anything out there again, because this was just very crazy. So they go out there and she steps outside, and immediately she has this overwhelming feeling of fear, just this heavy presence. And she knows that if she looks to her right, she is going to see something. But she does turn her head, and what she sees is absolutely terrifying. She sees a creature with yellow, red, bloodshot eyes. It has horns that wrap around so many times she could not even count. Its complexion looked rotten. Its hands and feet were super long. It had a smile so sinister that she literally thought that her eyes were playing tricks on her. When it just looks at her, smiles at her, it's just staring at her, smiling at her, and it takes its long finger and it just tap, tap, taps on the camper, just taunting her, looking at her, smiling, tap, tap, tap. And then it just starts whistling as it's tapping, and she can see its mouth move in the motion of like whistling. So she can see its mouth go and this freaks her out. So she starts screaming for her friends to come outside. She's like, please come outside right now. They all come outside and they look and they don't see anything. She's the only one that is seeing this for some reason. She's like, look right there, it is right there, and they do not see anything. When all of a sudden one of her friends that is standing in the doorway gets thrown to the ground. She gets thrown from the camper to the ground, and all you hear is this blood curdling scream. But it's not her screaming, it's that thing screaming. And she's on the ground now. She's hysterically crying. They're freaking out. They see this thing rush past them. They go and pick her up and they run back in the camper. As soon as they get in the camper, her friend is hysterically crying, and then the camper starts shaking so violently back and forth that they literally think the camper is going to tip over. So Samantha is yelling, please stop, please stop, please. And she thinks that this is actually making it worse. Then they hear the door start to open. So they're rushing over to the door, shutting the door, and they decide they're gonna call their family to come pick them up. So they call their family and they're like, come pick us up, please, something is happening to us. So they hear the truck a little bit later pulling up the road, and Samantha runs outside to the truck, not really thinking about what's out there. She just wants to get to her family. So she runs outside where the truck is, and as she's running, she feels this hand grab her shoulder and just squeeze into her shoulder. She looks over and it's this dark, wrinkly black hand, and she knows exactly what this thing is. And at this point, she's starting to get mad, and she's like, you know what? I have to face this thing. So she's like, I felt God with me at this point. I turn around and I literally just shoved it. I didn't feel like I pushed anything, is what she said. She said she just felt like her hands went through the air. And then she starts running back to the truck. So she tells her family that they need to go back to the camper and they need to go get her friend. So they go back to the camper, and the friend that had been thrown out of the camper is seriously hurt at this point. So she needs help. So they take her back to another family member's house of one of the friends that knows everything about skinwalkers. But apparently when she was running out to the truck, one of her other friends, the one that got thrown out of the camper, she ran after her. And when she ran after her, something threw her against the camper 3 or 4 times. So this girl is hurt. Now at this point, they try to all calm down. They try to help their friend and they sage themselves and they start praying. But Samantha says that this is not the first or last time that she has seen this thing. She doesn't know whether it is an SW or whether it is a demon, but she thinks that it's an SW. She thinks that unfortunately this thing may be attached to her. So she wants to know what you guys think. And she also wants to know if anyone else has ever experienced anything like this, because this was absolutely insane. And she knows that it was hard to believe, but she said that this is absolutely 100% true. And she needs to know if anyone else has ever seen anything like this before, or if anyone has ever been hurt before by a skinwalker. So just drop that in the comments. Also, if you have any questions for her, if you have any questions for me, and just your thoughts on this, really. She wants to know what your thoughts are. I love you guys so much. Seriously, you guys are the best. Thank you for all your sweet comments and everyone that has supported me. Every single one of you are absolutely just the best. I love you. Also, if you like true scary stories, I tell them every single night. I take stories that you have submitted to me through my email and I retell them on here. So again, if you would like me to recount your true scary story, my email is in my bio. Feeling Girl's having a shapewear sale right now where you can get 2 of these for like $45 when they're normally like $80 for 2 of them. I absolutely love this. The material is so stretchy and it sucks you in right here so much. It takes a minute to get on, but it is worth it. I absolutely love these tank tops. My favorite color is the red one, and you can get 2 of them, like I said, for $45. I will drop the link for you guys right there. Other than that, I hope you guys have the best night ever, and I just need you to do one thing for me, and what is that? Have a spooky night. I'll see you guys in the next one. Love you.
Good morning, it's 5 a.m. Let me tell you a very scary story about how I was stalked by what I think was a skinwalker. This isn't a funny story, this isn't anything like the Sharon Tate story. This is something I've never publicly talked about, and to this day, I just still can't explain. So, where I used to live when I was a little boy was an area of Temecula known as Duluth. It's this like hilly, mountainous area that sort of overlooks the Temecula Basin. And Duluth is surrounded by oak and avocado groves. So it's dark and there's like all these like kind of gullies and canyons and stuff like that. And my brother and I would explore them on our bikes. But even before then, I have lived in Duluth twice in my life. Once when I was a little boy from like the ages of like 0 to 5 to we moved, and then I was there from like ages 10 to 12. Anyway, so the first time in Duluth, something that just I've never been able to explain, and this all kind of factors into the same thing. When I was a little boy, in the first house that we lived in, we lived on acreage. Like, we had a couple acres deep in these groves. I called it the big house because it was just a big white house. And so I would always hear voices in the trees. And I was like a very precocious young child, and so I would talk to them. But they were talking to me in a language that I never understood. I never could figure it out. And when we started to explore the property more, as my brother and I grew up, we found arrowheads. There was a little creek that ran next to the house, and we found arrowheads and like artifacts. And so like there was also this like giant stone in the backyard, like deep. And it had these like holes, like where someone would take like a stone and like grind like corn. But I could never get over the fact that whenever I would be by myself in the backyard, I always felt like I was being watched. And so one night when I was a little boy, I asked my dad in the middle of the night to walk down to the kitchen with me and get a glass of water. And we had this really big plate window in the kitchen, and staring back at me were these giant orange eyes. And I have never been able to like describe the fear and the dread of seeing these unblinking giant orange eyes. There was probably an animal, honestly, but you can't rationalize that when you're like 4 or 5 years old. Even now, whenever I have nightmares, I genuinely see those orange eyes. So that's sort of the first part of this story. Just setting up of like, Duluth has a very ancient, weird energy that I can't explain. Second time that we moved to Duluth was the time that I am still just terrified to even talk about publicly. Let me grind this coffee 1 second. So after my father passes away, my mom and my brother moved back to Temecula. We find another house in the Duluth area because it's just where we know. And it's a pretty cool property. I have neighbors now, like kids my age, and that I can hang out with. I really like this place that we live. And so one day, my brother and I are riding around on our bikes, and we find this area kind of near our house where there were supposed to be some other houses built. And in this grove of oaks overlooking a canyon, there is a tree house. And we freak out. We have always wanted a tree house of our own. And it's very clear that this has been abandoned, like years and years ago. The wood is kind of rotten. Everything is sort of like dilapidated. And the thing with that is there's a lot of rust. And so like you can already smell this like very like tangy, rusty smell in the air. And so we then say, this is our treehouse. No one's clearly using it, so let's make it ours. And we go back to the house and we start getting tools. We start working on this. And whenever we have neighbor friends over, we go work on the treehouse. It was basically like mom would take us to Home Depot, we'd get a couple 2x4s, some nails, and start hammering it in. And so about a month later, my brother Chase and my mom go on a field trip to Sacramento because that was the big trip at the time. And so I'm staying with some neighbor friends and their son, Taylor. And I get on my bike one day after school and I'm like, hey, I'm going to go ride my bike. And they're like, oh, where are you going to go? And I said, oh, the treehouse. And the mom is like, what treehouse? And I'm like, oh, you know, the one that's like up Sunset Terrace. And she's like, honey, don't go there. I was like, why? And she's like, just don't go there, please. I'm like, okay, this is weird. So I went there because I'm dumb. And when I get there, there's a kid. There's a kid just working on the treehouse, and I've never seen him before. And so I'm like, hey, hello. And he like waves back, and so I come up and I'm like, hi, I'm Hunter, what's your name? And he says, I'm working on the treehouse. I'm like, yeah, I see that, that's cool. Like, what, like, is this yours? And he's like, no, I like it though. I'm like, okay. So he's giving like fairly short one-word answers. And the thing that I'm noticing now is that rusty smell from before is heightened. It is a lot more intense. Like, it is like this rust. It's like blood and rust. It's a very metallic smell. And I'm starting to get pretty queasy, like really off-putted. And it's getting to the point where I'm almost about to throw up, and this kid is just like, he's working on the treehouse, but it's almost as if like he's acting out working on the treehouse. Like, he's not actually doing anything. And so I'm trying to get like asking more questions, like where he lives, and he's only really giving one-word answers if he gives answers at all. And I'm just starting to feel weird, and my stomach feels sick from the smell. And I'm like, hey, I'm actually gonna go. He's like, I know, you're gonna go now. I'm like, okay. And so I'm like, well, I'll see you later. Still don't have his name. And I get on my bike and I ride away, and I like look back, and he's then standing in the field, like standing where these houses were supposed to be built. Later that night, I can't sleep. Like, I can't sleep at all. And I feel this like need to like look out the window. And there's this kid standing at the top of the driveway. I'm like genuinely like all the hair is like standing on my hand. He's like standing in the driveway, and it's clearly this kid, but it's as if this kid is like crooked. It's literally like he's looking like this. He's just standing there. And I like blink it, and like I close the blinds, and I can feel like when you feel someone's presence like coming up to a window, you know they're there. And I could not sleep that entire night because I felt that presence at that window. And like right before in the morning, it was a Friday, and so I just had to check for myself. And I went outside before we left for school, and I looked, and there were like these weird misshapen, like, it looked like a footprint, but it was almost as if it was like made by an animal. It was just standing in front of that window. I can't explain it. This is what happened. Believe me if you want. I think I was stalked by a skinwalker. All right, bye. Good morning, it's 6 a.m. This is part 2 of how I think I was stalked by a skinwalker. So after my mom and my brother get back from this field trip, there are just weird things that are happening in and around our house that I can't explain. There are doors left open, there are, like, my computer would turn on at random times at night, and like, I'm starting to get goosebumps just talking about this again. Like, there were so many things that I could not explain, to the point that whenever I would wake up in the middle of the night, I would always see a figure. And like, it was just this dark figure that would always be like just ever so slightly out of glance. Like, sometimes like when you see shapes at night, you can pretty much figure out that it's something in your house. This was humanoid. This was a figure. And what I I can't explain is the fact that light would not reflect off of it like a normal object. It's as if light went into it and stopped. And so a couple months go by, and a literal once in every 30-year snowstorm happens in Temecula. This is something that is a freak weather occurrence, and so it's snowing in Duluth. And like, I wake up at 5 a.m. and I even see snowfall, and I like go to my mom, and she's like, go to bed, you're lying, like there's no snowfall. It was snowing. And so as I'm on my way back from my mom's room to my room, I pass by the kitchen, which has a big window. What is standing outside? It's the crooked figure. It's just standing there in the snow. and I can clearly tell that snow is on it. And I'm like, genuinely, every single fiber of my being knows what I saw. It was just standing there. And the thing that I still can't explain is that its eyes were orange. I know in part 1, I said it could have been an animal. Every fiber of my being says that that thing had orange eyes. It felt like this thing has been following me since I was a child. Later that day, we play in the snow, all that, but I take a second just for myself and I walk out back and I see the same prints. It's the exact same prints that were outside the window. It's there. It was there. I know for a fact that up until we left that property, it was always there. And it was always in some way, just like in my peripheral, in my vision, around me. It wasn't like it was stalking. It was as if it was trying to learn my behavior. But here's kind of the weirdest part about all of this. It never felt like it wanted to do anything nefarious. It always felt like it was curious, like it wanted to know more. It wanted some amount of a connection, like it, in a weird way, it felt like it wanted a friend. Yet the way and the manner of how it was occupying my space was terrifying to a 10-year-old. And so a couple years later, when we go to sell the house is emptied at this point, and I'm just like walking around. I don't know where my mom is, and my brother is somewhere on the other side of the house. And I hear the voice from the treehouse just call out saying, "Goodbye." And it's always as if, because then I start trying to follow the voice, like, where is this coming from? I'm trying to like run around, I'm trying to like find it. I can't find it. There's a little shed on the property, cute little shed. And I go outside and I see the boy from the treehouse, whatever that I saw all those, months ago. And he goes into the shed. And so like I run into the shed. There's nothing there. There's a part of me that feels like that spirit, whatever it was trapped. And it was just looking for some amount of a companion. That's it.
I can't tell if I'm connecting dots here or if I'm just paranoid, but I want to share with you guys what happened to me and some friends while we were in Sedona, Arizona. It's not like super crazy, but it's strange, and I'm going down the whole skin, I don't like saying it. I said it in my last video and then I felt really bad about it. You know what I'm saying. I'm going down that rabbit hole. And I'm noticing some common traits, and it reminded me of what happened back in Sedona with my friends and some things that I heard and the feeling that I had. And mind you, this is my worst nightmare. Like, this shit does keep me up all night unless I'm prepared for it. So while we were in Sedona, my friend Charles is like really into this stuff, and he thought it would be funny to just put on some stories going about the skin in the background as he was falling asleep one night. And my friend Ellie and I were still up, and we were just like trying to have conversation and ignoring the stories that were being told, but like low-key listening to it in the background. And it was legit freaking me out. I mean, the most creepy stories I've ever heard. So Ellie's like, Charles is her brother, by the way. She's like, Charles, shut that shit off. And he did. Whatever, we're getting ready for bed. So there were several different things that happened that were strange on this trip, but I want to start with this because this is what I think I'm like connecting dots with, and I really hope I'm wrong here. We were laying down going to sleep. My friend Ellie and I were sharing a bed, and she had her little eye mask on. She's out. Charles is on the couch. He's out. And I'm just laying there awake thinking about the stories that I just heard that were like absolutely terrifying. Just trying to fall asleep, right? Like, we're in an Airbnb. I feel safe there, but at the same time, these stories are just like playing in the back of my head. And you can like hype yourself up in a bad way. Like, you can get yourself going and get yourself paranoid and, like be listening for things and psyching yourself out. So maybe that's what was happening. But I kept hearing sounds. I kept hearing things on the window by my bed, like little tapping. And there were blinds, like the blinds, like the white strips. and it just felt like there was something messing with those blinds. And I was just like, okay, you know, maybe it's the wind. The windows weren't open, but I don't know. I was just like, whatever, just try to go to sleep. Again, still thinking about the skin, and I'm like, what if they are around here? I don't know, whatever. Anyways, about 5 minutes or so goes by. I'm almost asleep at this point, and then I hear super loud in the kitchen. This Airbnb, like, there's no bedrooms. It's like all open. So the bed is like in the living room, and the kitchen is just like right over there on the other side of the living room. It's all open, right? And so the kitchen isn't far. It sounds, the only way that I can explain this is nails, like acrylic nails on the linoleum floor, like going like this, just scratching. And I'm like, what the fuck? My heart's like racing, and I'm like, what do I do right now? It lasted for like 5 seconds maybe. My heart's just racing, and I'm like, okay, just calm down. Like, you don't need to wake them up yet. Like, just chill. If you hear anything else, then wake up Ellie. And as soon as I thought that, then the blinds next to the bed again start to, like, I don't know, shake in a way. Like, it sounds like something is there. And immediately I'm like, Ellie. It's just funny because she had her little eye mask on. She just sits up and like rips it off. She's like, what? And I'm like, I don't know, dude, like, I'm just hearing stuff, and it's freaking me out because we were listening to those stories, and I don't know, maybe I'm just paranoid, but it sounded like acrylic nails in the kitchen, and all I can think is those freaking skin, because that's what I was thinking then, but I thought that I was just paranoid. And now I'm reading all these stories on Reddit because I want to do a series here on that, and there's so many stories of people hearing this scratching. Ugh, it's so cringy. It makes my stomach just flip upside down. Like nails on chalkboard, literally, but knowing that it is something else. Another strange thing that happened, Charles and I were on Dead Man's Pass in Sedona. If you've ever been there, it's such a beautiful place. But we were on this one trail, we were trying to find a specific cave, and this was like the long way around to get to this cave. And I just did not have a good feeling. In Sedona in general, it's wild, but it usually is like the most amazing feeling. Like, you just feel so connected, and like it's just absolutely beautiful, and the vibes are it, like 100%. But on this specific trail, something just felt off. Not to mention the name Dead Man's Pass, maybe that has something to do with the feel of it, but it was just a little bit eerie. So we're going down this trail. We see people every now and then, but overall it's pretty quiet, right? I think we saw maybe like 2 people leading up to this point where things started to get weird. We'd been on the trail for probably about 30 minutes at this point. I can't remember which happened first, but Charles was in front of me, and the trail was very narrow, so he was in front and I was just right behind him. And you know, when you're hiking, you're looking down at your feet, you're watching your step, but like, you are aware of what's going on around you. You can see like from your peripherals that someone's coming, right? Like, that's just a thing. Like, you can tell someone's coming. So Charles was looking down at his feet, and he noticed that someone was coming, so he stepped to the side. And then when he stepped to the side to let whoever was coming through, they didn't, and he looked up and literally nobody was there. So he was like, okay, like, that's super strange. Like, I saw somebody coming, you know, from the corner of my eye, and so I got over to the side, nobody. I'm like, okay, maybe you're getting dehydrated, drink some more water, you know, like, trying to play it off. Within 5 minutes of that, Charles goes, do you hear that? And as I'm listening, my ears just start ringing, because there was no sound. Like, it was so silent that it's like my mind had to come up with a sound because there was no sound. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know. It was the weirdest thing. It felt like a dream, but it was so silent. Like, there was no wind, there was no leaves moving, there were no bugs, there were no birds. Like, it was silent. And so I was like, what? Like, do you mean that ringing? Because my ears are ringing right now. And he was like, literally everything stopped. Like, all the bugs, the wind, everything. And I was like, okay. He's like, I'm not trying to scare you, but that usually means that there's a predator around. Because, you know, there's like locusts and crickets and birds, and there's sounds of nature. but there wasn't any, and it all stopped in an instant. And I was like, okay, Charles, like, don't tell me that, dude, because you've been playing these skin stories this whole trip, and now you're telling me this. Like, I don't feel good about this. So we decided to head back. Plus, we're looking, we don't have any service on our phones at all, and at this point we did not have the All Trails app, so we were trying to figure out how to get to this cave via GPS, and it just, like, there was no service, and we thought that maybe we were going to end up getting lost or that we wouldn't make it to our destination by dark. So we decided to turn back and then try a different route, like a shorter way, and get All Trails and see if we can find said cave. Anyways, we turn back. We're going. We pass some people coming down the trail, like towards us. That was it. Anyways, we're just like not scared, but not totally comfortable, if that makes sense. Like, we're enjoying the trail, but we also are just trying to get back to the car. Well, all of a sudden, I see from the corner of my eye just a dark shadow run across the trail. Like, the trail's like this. Here's woods on either side. Run across. Like, as soon as I saw something run across, I thought it was a child. And I turned to look and then looked in the woods. It wasn't thick, so like I could see in it where it would have been if there would have been a child running across, and there was nothing. And I was like, okay, I feel like my mind is playing tricks on me. You know, maybe we were getting dehydrated. I don't know. We're on Dead Man's Pass right now, and it doesn't feel too good, dude. So let's get the fuck out of here right now. Let me know what you guys think of this, or if you have experienced anything similar to this. I'm gonna be reading stories off of Reddit because those stories are like actually shit your pants kind of stories. Obviously this one is not, but just some strange things that I've experienced that I wanted to share. So follow along for more and share your stories with me.
There's a very well documented case of a skinwalker that comes out of Phoenix. Now, there was this guy who came forward and he said that his mother lived next to like a couple 100 acres of desert. And he said, you know, he was often afraid because she lived alone, but she did not want to move. Well, one night she awoke at like 2 a.m. and her dog was barking at the door. So she got up and figured he needed to go outside and use the bathroom. So she puts him on the leash and she starts walking him around the backyard. She said that's when she heard what sounded like her husband's voice coming from out in the desert behind some brush. She heard the voice say, "Are you there? Are you still there?" And she said, like, you know, she called out her husband, Ingram, like, is that you, Ingram? And she said, the voice responded back, "Yes. Now come out here into the desert, like come behind this brush, just come on." And she's like, "No, Ingram, you are deceased." And so she took off running with the dog back into the house. Well, for several weeks, she would have something knocking at her door, banging at her windows. When she would go to answer the door, there would be no one there. She would hear laughs and screams coming from outside. And she, you know, eventually told her son about what had happened. And he come over to the house a couple times, and he couldn't find anything or find anyone. They reached out to the police. The police set up patrols. They couldn't find anything or catch anyone that was harassing this old lady. And then she said one night there was a really bad thunderstorm. And after the thunderstorm had stopped, she hears a knock at the door. She goes to answer it, and when she opens the door, she's surprised to see her husband, Edgar. And she was so excited that she almost gave him a hug, but then she was like, wait a second, he's been deceased for a couple of years now. And she said it looked like Edgar, but it was just like his face was just something was off about it. And it almost looked rubbery, kind of like the skin, was hanging off the cheekbone. And she said this thing that looked like her husband said, "Are you here still? It's me, it's Edgar. Like, let me in the house and give me a hug." And like, she was like, "No, Edgar, you're deceased. You're not real. Like, you're not here." And she said he kept saying, "Just let me in the house. Come on, I am real. I'm your husband." And so she said she pushed him away because he moved in like close on her. And as she pushed him away, she said he felt like ice cold. He turned and then ran off into the desert. So immediately she calls her son, who he calls the police. They go out there, they search the area, they couldn't find anything. Now, her son started to think like, okay, maybe she's like losing it as she's getting older, because like we never see anything. And this, sounds pretty crazy what she's explaining. Until one night he happened to pull in front of her house, and he said he sees this man standing next to her door. And when he locked eyes with him, he could see that he had these bright yellow eyes. And he said this man turned, took off running towards the desert, but he got down on all fours just like an animal.
If you've ever wanted to see a skinwalker, today's your lucky day, because I'm getting ready to show you one. Skinwalkers come from Native American folklore, primarily the Navajo. And here's the thing, you never truly know what they're going to look like when you get them on camera like this. A lot of people will tell you skinwalkers are only found in the western part of the U.S., but that's not true, because people in Appalachia and all over the world, essentially, have got them on camera. And that's what I'm getting ready to show you. This picture comes from a trail camera somewhere, I believe, in Appalachia. Trail cameras are becoming a very essential tool in the paranormal world because they catch a lot of stuff. As always, I want you guys to come to your own conclusion. Look at this picture. Maybe it's a hoax, maybe it's legit. I'm going to show you the original picture, then I'm going to blow it up so you can make out some more detail. But tell me what you think in the comments, and if you have any evidence you would like to share, my email is listed in my bio. Check this out.
In the early 1990s, the Sherman family moved into a country homestead that spread across 512 acres of northern Utah in a region known as the Uinta Basin. But shortly after moving in, horrifying things started to happen. When Terry and his wife Gwen bought the ranch, it had sat abandoned for many years, and because of that, they bought it well below market value. Upon viewing the home, they noticed that every window and door had multiple deadbolts on them inside and out, and there was a large stake in the front yard with a bunch of chains around it. But they were too excited about the ranch in general to even think twice about this. But shortly after settling in one night, Terry saw a huge animal that appeared to be a wolf creeping towards their livestock. It grabbed a calf in its jaws, and Terry ended up shooting it multiple times. The animal didn't seem hurt, but slowly walked back into the bushes. When Terry went to go check it out, he noticed a foul odor like rotting flesh. Over the next 18 months, the Sherman family would be tormented by something on the ranch. They, along with many friends and family they would have over, would see beast-like creatures lurking in the woods on the property. Few of the family's dogs would be incinerated in the middle of the night. Their cows would disappear and then turn up mutilated, but in an oddly surgical manner, and they would also be drained of blood. Family claimed to see UFOs and strange lights, and they also claimed to see circular doorways appear on the property out of thin air. They finally got so scared that in 1996, after talking to the media, they sold the ranch to Robert Bigelow. Robert was a millionaire in the Las Vegas real estate and was also a UFO enthusiast. So when he heard about the strange occurrences at the ranch and the fact that the Uinta Basin of eastern Utah is a hotspot for UFO sightings, he bought the property. Robert created the National Institute for Discovery Science, and under that he built an observation building on the property. He moved in several scientists and vets to conduct 24/7 surveillance and research. On March 12, 1997, while conducting research in the middle of the night, a biochemist claimed to have seen a large humanoid creature looking at the research team from a tree. It had yellow eyes. The team fired at it and it disappeared, but it left behind a single oval track about 6 inches in diameter with 2 sharp claw prints. Many people on the crew witnessed paranormal activity and strange lights on the ranch. The ranch was then sold to Brandon Fugel, and he named it the Skinwalker Ranch. The Skinwalker Ranch is the most scientifically studied paranormal hotspot in the world. It has a long history of creepy, unexplained activity. What do you guys think?
Now remember how I've always said to be careful what you say out loud, because you may essentially be inviting things into your space that you may not want there. This story I'm about to share is one of the biggest reasons as to why I don't say the V word out loud. I don't say the SW word out loud. I don't say a lot of these words out loud. But let's just get to it. For the sake of the story, we're gonna call her Kelly. One night, Kelly was home alone, just scrolling through TikTok when she ran across a creator talking about the legend of the SW. Kelly started to get the feeling that the creator was about to use their proper Navajo name. So she decided that she was gonna get out of the video before the creator said it out loud. Mind you, using their Navajo proper name is a huge no-no. Before Kelly could get out of the video, the creator said the name out loud and it was just out there. Right after this name was said out loud, Kelly started to hear what sounded like footsteps on her roof. At first, she thought that there was absolutely no way that this being heard its name being called and jumped on her 3rd story roof. But just to be safe, she decided to go around and check out her windows, lock them, and make sure her curtains were shut. That night, she could not sleep. She kept tossing and turning. She kept feeling like there was this impending doom upon her. Fast forward a couple days, Kelly was at a home where she takes care of these 4 elderly ladies. While Kelly's at the house, in the middle of the night, she hears what sounds like this wailing coming from outside the window. Her first thought was that it was probably one of the ladies, so she went to check up on them, and one by one, all of the ladies were asleep. Kelly decides to ignore it and go about the rest of her night. Now fast forward a couple weeks, Kelly is at the same home taking care of the 4 older ladies, but 2 of them are out of town. So it's just the lady that lives upstairs and the lady that lives downstairs. Kelly's in the kitchen cooking dinner when she hears somebody call her name. Now mind you, the person that called her name sounded like one of the ladies that were out of town. So Kelly responds with, "I'm in the middle of cooking. Just give me a minute so I can step away." The voice then responds, almost like growling this time and more agitated, and says, "Can you just come over here? I need help." Now this time it sounded like the lady that was upstairs. So Kelly goes upstairs to her room, knocks on the door and says, "Hey honey, did you need me? I heard you calling me saying that you needed my help." The lady looks at her like she's crazy and says, "No, I have not called you." Kelly just responds with, "Oh, I must have misheard," and just walks away. Kelly decides to check the rest of the house and it was completely silent, but there was this eerie feeling about the whole house. Once Kelly's getting ready to go home at about 10 p.m., she's walking to her car and hears what sounds like a turkey. Now mind you, in the area she lives at, there are no turkeys. Kelly assumes that it's probably one of the neighborhood kids messing around, so Kelly decides to respond by making that same sound. The minute Kelly does this, she hears what sounds like running coming from behind her. Whatever this was running straight for her car. Now I'm gonna have to do a part 2 because TikTok has not given me 10-minute videos yet.
This is a story about the time my brother saw a skinwalker and didn't react like a normal person would. I grew up in a haunted house and I tell stories of things that happened to me and my family members and friends, and this is the story about my brother and the night that a skinwalker was in his yard. It's important to know that I overreact and my brother completely underreacts. He calls me, he's just very chill, and he said, "Hey, I just saw the weirdest thing in my yard. I'm gonna tell you about it. You tell me what you think." So I'm like, "Okay, what'd you see? What was it?" And he said, "Well, there was a helicopter flying over my house," which is normal. That happens a lot around here. And I said, "Okay, yeah, and?" And he said, "Well, they had the spotlight out and they were shining it on my front door." It was weird. So I go to the front door and I'm looking at them and they're looking at me, and then they just kind of circle around a little bit and then they leave. So I figure that something must be outside if they're out there circling, what were they looking for? So now he's got my attention because I'm like, what were they looking for? He lives out in the country, but not way out in the country. He lives on a main road, right? And he has neighbors and stuff, but it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. So of course he takes his when he goes outside, right? Well, it has a light on it. So he said he's scanning around looking when he lands on this thing. What kind of thing? I don't know. It was weird. Just that sentence alone already had me on high alert, because for Grant to say something's weird, and I knew it was about to be really weird. So he starts to describe it. So when the light hits it, it's on all fours, right? But it has glowing eyes, and its face looked like a human face kind of, and it had no hair on it, and it was this slick, wet looking thing. Me being me that knows everything about ghosts and paranormal and weird stuff, I immediately knew what he was talking about. Go on. So I'm looking at it. It's looking at me. But then it stands up. Stands up? Stood up? Yeah, it stands up like a person. And its front arms were long. And it's gaunt looking. And then it turns, runs, and jumps the neighbor's fence. The fence is 15, 20 feet tall? Yeah, and it was 7, 8 feet tall. What do you think that was? Just very nonchalant. So I yell into the phone, "Oh my God, you saw a skinwalker!" What's that? What'd you say it was? A skinwalker? What's a skinwalker? Before I send you a picture of it, I'm gonna need you to draw it for me. Draw it, send it to me, and I'll send you what it looks like. Let's send it at the same time because I wanna see if it's what I think it is. My brother is super artistic, so I give him a second and he draws this and sends it to me. So he said this is what it started out as. And then it stood up to this. So then I send him this. And he says, "Yeah, that's it. That's what it is." Huh? That's all you got to say to that? Well, I mean, that's weird. I've never heard of that. Huh, how about that? All right, well, I'm going to bed. And he hung up.
This might be the scariest video I've ever seen on TikTok. TikTok user Mode Owens was just riding his dirt bike in the forest one day, just recording himself doing it, going on an adventure. And then he gets to a fork in the road. He's commenting on how this trail seems to go on forever, when suddenly the forest goes silent.
Holy crap, dude, this trail going on forever. It just got really quiet really fast.
He immediately hightailed it out of there, but that's what he saw.
No, thank you.
I decided to check out the creator search and site tool, and according to this, y'all want to talk about skinwalkers. So let's cover what are skinwalkers and Skinwalkers Explained. Skinwalkers come from Navajo belief, and though many avoid saying the name skinwalker, that's not their true name. That's an English word, so it's perfectly safe to say. It's important to note that the true lore surrounding skinwalkers is not fully known or understood by anyone outside of the Navajo tribe. They don't really like to discuss it, and because I'm not Navajo, I'm no exception to that. However, the topic has become extremely popular in pop culture, and a lot of it is just plain wrong, so I will do my best to explain it. So skinwalkers are not spirits. They're not made up monsters or even cryptids. They are humans with human motivations, which makes them infinitely more terrifying. They choose their targets based on greed or lust, vengeance, hatred. Most skinwalkers were once medicine men, able to harness the energies of the earth in order to heal or bless. But if a medicine man turns to what is known as the witchery way, dark arts used to curse or harm, then they begin to change, turning from good shaman into an evil witch. But to actually become a skinwalker and gain access to the supernatural abilities, an initiation takes place. Skinwalkers actually form a kind of secret society. They are not born, but made, and made intentionally. The initiation requires the evilest of deeds, often the killing of a family member, especially a sibling. However, the rest of the turning is unknown. But once it is complete, the now skinwalker gains the ability to shapeshift and can take the form of any animal by wearing its skin. And they will typically choose the animal to turn into based on the ability that is needed at the time, like a bear for strength, or a wolf for speed, a cougar for stealth. While in animal form, there are typically some tells that there's no ordinary animal. The creature may be too large, or it moves oddly, or just plain feels wrong. But it's the eyes that really give them away. The eyes will remain very human, but they also will glow red when light hits them. Skinwalker also gains other abilities besides shapeshifting, like the ability to influence humans. It can read minds, cause illness and disease, and mental instability. It can also possess humans, stealing their skin in a way, by controlling their mind and their behavior and their body. A very powerful skinwalker can do this simply by locking eyes with a person and leaving the possessed with no memory of what occurred while the skinwalker was using their body. Other abilities include being able to call creatures of the night to themselves, like owls or wolves, and have them do their bidding. They're said to be able to summon spirits of the dead and even reanimate corpses to attack their enemies. Once a man or a woman joins the evil ranks of the skinwalkers, they often make their homes out in the wilderness, and encounters with them typically happen along roadways, running alongside cars and matching their speed, or suddenly appearing standing in the middle of the road in order to cause a wreck. Sometimes it's even been reported that the animal that was running alongside a vehicle will suddenly transform back into the man and bang on the window or bang on the hood before shifting back into an animal and running off. They do like to toy with their victims sometimes that way, by shifting right in front of them, or in animal form suddenly standing on its hind legs and laughing like a human laugh, though they cannot speak in their human voice while in animal form. This is usually done to incite fear, but sometimes it seems to be done almost like a warning, like a proceed no further, we are here. And if the warning is not heeded, well, they're likely to become a victim. But if the person turns back and goes back the way they came, they're largely left alone. If stalking a specific victim, they also like to make their presence known by knocking on walls or doors or ceilings, or just standing there staring into the windows, or leaving cursed objects around the property. This is probably likely done also to incite fear, but it may also be a kind of arrogance, because skinwalkers are extremely difficult, if not impossible to kill. They can be killed, it's just most attempts are unsuccessful, and can lead to retribution, which you do not want. Only powerful medicine men really stand a chance alliance against them. It's said that the Navajo people have battled against the Skinwalkers for generations, so there are always a chosen few that are trained to destroy them. As I mentioned, Skinwalkers choose their victims due to a variety of motivations, but most of the time it's just because of a contract. They are hired to. Skinwalkers are basically supernatural assassins, paid to curse or harm or kill a target. They do this really just out of greed. They want the wealth. And those Skinwalkers are human and therefore can travel. It is unlikely to encounter one outside of the Four Corners area, though they have been known to roam further into California or Texas, but they are almost never encountered further east than the Midwest. It's just not really their area. I was told by a friend who was willing to discuss this with me that while there are still Skinwalkers alive today, there are not nearly as many as there once were. And for that, we owe the Navajo people a enormous gratitude. These things are terrifying.